Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chat Channel. My name is Tim Hayden, and I'll be your host. We have a dynamite show for you today. Our guest is the beautiful and talented Kathy Garver. Kathy's an actress, producer, and author. She has starred in many television, film, and stage productions such as This Is Alice, The Ten Commandments, The Patty Duke Show, The Princess Diaries, and more. But she's most known for her role as Cissy Patterson Davis in the hit show Family Affair, which aired from 1966 to 1971. Kathy's also authored 4 books. Please welcome Kathy to the show. Welcome to the show, Kathy. How are you?
I'm terrific, Tim. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I just want to say thank you so much because I am such a fan.
Well, I am so excited to find out that you are from Owensboro because
Yes.
I did a play there, a brand new play. Actually, I just pulled it off my shelf. Absolutely did.
Oh, wow.
We're both very much alive. It was written by Michael Walker, but my husband was played by Kelly, who is with Theater Works there. So anyway,
Yes.
It was great experience to be in Owensboro, I must tell you.
Yes, our little theater that we have here is called Theater Workshop of Owensboro. Not the one that you performed at, but the ones that we have local performers. And recently they have been moved into an old movie theater and they converted into a full-on theater, which is really cool.
Nice, because I did mine at the River Park Center, which was really good. And it was part of a murder mystery festival. I love murder mysteries. And so when I first saw the script, I said, oh, yes, I have to do this. And I was so glad I did. I really got to know the feelings of Owensboro and where Johnny Depp was born. Oh, my gosh. He even came to visit, although I didn't meet him while he was there.
Yes, when he comes, he doesn't tell anybody. And if he does photos with people, just normal everyday people, he asks them to post it after he's left because he doesn't want all of the, all the
hoopla and all those people.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
But he's very kind. He is so kind when he does come into town. He's very kind. His dad lives here, actually. Still lives here.
Well, the wardrobe lady was a good friend of his, and that's how I knew that he was in town. But we were so busy that we didn't even have time because we were rehearsing and we had to get the play up. But it's a lovely place from where you were from, Owensboro, Kentucky.
Thank you very much. And they're improving it here all the time. We're just, I hate to say a small town, I say about a medium town, about 120,000 people, but we're spread out. It's a nice little town.
When I was there, they were doing a lot of construction at the River Park. And now I hear it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yes, they took the whole river bank. There used to be a small little park and other little things, but they took it and revamped everything. There's a huge child's play. During the summer, we have what they call Friday After 5. There's like 6 different stages set up within a half a mile that you can just walk from stage to stage, listen to and different food trucks. It's really neat. They do that during the summer here since they've
I'm going to have to come back and see it. I do for Christmas, I do a staged reading of A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote and a meet and greet. And it's such an interesting, wonderful, well-written. I have a whole PowerPoint behind me that shows the scenes from this particular book that had the pictures to go along with Truman Capote's words. But I'll have to see about arranging that. That would be great to come back. Yeah.
And I will make sure to be there this time. I didn't know you were here previously, but I will make sure to be there on this one for sure.
Okay.
Well, let me just ask you, what was it like for you growing up in California in the beginning?
Well, it was great. I am the youngest of 4 children, and my siblings were all born in Oklahoma City. So there came that time of the Dust Bowl, and everybody was kind of getting out of Dodge. So my father was working with the government, and there weren't any jobs at that time. That was just really at the tail end of the Depression. And so he got a job at the shipyards in Long Beach, but he was an architect. by profession, and he had made plans for and built like some churches in Oklahoma and other buildings. But he worked at the shipyards, and that was in Long Beach. So I was born in Long Beach, California.
Wow, that's very cool. I'd have to have you and Marie Cheatham come on sometime. She's from Oklahoma, and y'all.
Who is that? I didn't hear you.
Marie Cheatham.
Ah,
Y'all, yeah. I do a show. I've been doing a segment called "Maturing Famously," where I have mature actors come and talk about what it was like. So maybe I'll have you and Marie come on sometime, because y'all are both from that area, or your families are anyway, and the same time frame, I would say.
right. I'm probably much younger than she.
She just turned 82.
Yeah, you see, give me a break, Tim.
Well, she's proud of her age. She's been on a couple of times. She's a very good friend of the shows, and she's proud of her age. She doesn't mind the word old, because we discussed it in different things, in that segment. I learned a lot.
Well, I like to think of myself as a seasoned citizen. And that's
Yes.
that's the way, because I'm not up to 80 yet. I
Right.
got a lot of living to
Yes,
do.
Yes, you do. And you have had such an amazing career. And I can only scratch the surface during this episode. Because I believe you started at age 3. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. I
Wow.
was a Meglin kitty, and Ethel Meglin was the owner of the studio. And this is where Shirley Temple was discovered. And
Okay.
so everybody in Hollywood, we had moved from Long Beach to Baldwin Hills by that time, and we were half an hour away from Hollywood and half an hour away from the studio. So that's where I learned to sing and dance, tap dance and ballet and dramatics, even when I was a child.
Wow, that's so cool. That's very cool. Just to be, included in that school that somebody
Oh,
like Shirley
right.
Temple.
Yeah. The studio. Sure. And my mother, of course, thought I was going to be the next Shirley Temple. Didn't every mother's in Hollywood? And I had my hair in little ringlets all over. And but it was lots of fun. I wasn't the next Shirley Temple, but I was the original Kathy Garver.
Absolutely. And we wouldn't want it any other way.
Thank you.
If your mother had not figured out what she was wanting you to do you think that you'd be acting or doing something else? Because I know your mother was a big part of that early on, getting you into those classes and stuff.
Well, I think lots of people don't know what they want to do when they're children or whatever. When I think I was in college, what I wanted to be was a microbiologist.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I always had a curiosity about why we're here, what's going on here, what are cells, how did we change from an amoeba to a paramecium and many celled creature that climbed out of the waters and grew legs and evolved and did all that. So that always fascinated me. But I majored in speech, not in theater arts, and my mother encouraged that. I says, "Oh, you need some insurance just in case you don't stay in acting." I said, "Thank you for the confidence, Mother." But I majored in liberal arts. I majored in speech and then a minor in psychology. And then I went on to get a master's degree in theater arts.
That is incredible. Well, I asked that because my father, I grew up on a farm. He owns an electric company. And, of course, we were made to work on the farm, work on the electric company, which I didn't particularly like. And, when you're forced to do something like that, you kind of sometimes don't like it. That's why I was kind of asking that, because.
Well, I look, at my senior seasoned citizen age, I look back and I'm so grateful for my education and what my mother taught me. There are things all the time that I am still utilizing, like when I'm making out a checkbook. And I remember the 7th grade, how we had a special class in life living tips, how to make out a check, how to balance budgets, how to do business. And I said, I'm so glad that I had that. My mother taught me about business and now what are you going to do with the money? You save your money and help me buy. And my brother, we bought a house together for real estate. So I valued, all of those things. and even doing simple things like trying to hang a picture and figuring out the angle and this isosceles triangle, it brings me back to my math. So I'm a big advocate of education.
For sure. And I was like, my son, growing up, everybody wants to be different things all the time. But at one point he wanted to be a wrestler. I mean, he was really, truly committed to wanting to be a wrestler. I'm like, didn't want to discourage him. So I was like, okay, TJ, that's fine, but you need to go to school and have a fallback plan just in case, because you might get hurt in the ring. You just never know. I mean, unfortunately, he didn't go through wrestling. He might be pretty good at it, but
what did he end up doing? And what are you doing besides hosting this lovely show?
I myself helped start a nonprofit organization called Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation, which necrotizing fasciitis is also known as the flesh-eating bacteria.
Oh, yes, I'd heard of that.
I survived that in 2006.
Wow.
There's not a lot of study and research, and definitely not any aftercare research. So we developed a support group, and from there we developed a nonprofit, because the main way to save somebody's life from that is awareness. Because doctors go their whole career and never see it. Most doctors.
How did you get it? And what did you do, and why did you survive?
I had a little superficial scratch that didn't even bleed on my knuckle here, just a scratch. And I guess it entered through there, and it's not like everybody can get it. The reason that caused the bacteria that caused mine was strep A, which causes strep throat, and we all carry it on our bodies every day. But it has to be a combination of a terrible storm. Your immune system's got to be compromised at that point, and the bacteria's got to just get in there and interact just right. And that's it's a rare condition. About 200,000 Americans a year are struck with it. And
to remember that it was spreading at one time.
Yes. And well, with mine, I didn't know I had it. I just felt like I had and that's why most people die from it, misdiagnosis, because I thought I just had the flu. Just thought I had a terrible case of the flu. Went to the hospital, and even the ER doctor, who was like, okay, we're going to send you for this test. And just happened to be infectious disease doctor on staff that day. And he came through and he looked and he said, oh no, I know what that is. Take him right to the OR right now.
Oh, good.
So they caught mine really early. I was very blessed. Unlike others, survivors in my group, they've had it on their face. You get it in any part of your body. Foreigner's gangrene is a familiar case of NF, necrotizing fasciitis. It's just that it's in the perineal area. But enough about me. I want to talk about you. I love you. I know enough about me. Do you remember what your first job was as far as on camera?
The first thing I did was The Night of the Hunter, which was a movie that starred Shelley Winters and Robert Mitchum and Lillian Gish, Peter Graves, Billy Chapin. I mean, it really had a fabulous cast. And it was directed by Charles Laughton, which was his first and last picture that he ever directed, because the movie got such awful reviews. And the reason that it got such bad reviews was because it was so ahead of its time. It was a whole different kind of movie that anyone had ever seen before. It was in black and white and utilized German expressionism. And but the music was so haunting. It has since become one of it's a movie that's studied in colleges and universities and lauded as one of the best horror movies that was ever made. It was a psychological thriller more than a horror movie per se. But that was my entree into the entertainment world.
I love that you worked with Shelley Winters. I'm a huge fan of hers too, as well. She was great.
She was terrific, and she wrote a wonderful book that I read like after the fact about her whole experience in Hollywood and knowing Marilyn Monroe, and it was fascinating. Right.
Poseidon and other things that she was in. I remember a lot of the shows that she was in.
Yeah, she was a terrific actress. The second book that I've written 5 books. So the second book that I wrote was Surviving Cissy, My Family Affair of Life in Hollywood. And I devote about 2 chapters to The Night of the Hunter, just because it was it was so significant in my life, but it also embraced so many other cultural things that happened. And it's I was at BYU University, Brigham Young University, and I was there, and I was making a speech to them, and their film department, their theater department. I was a special guest, and then the question was, "What was your first movie?" And I said, "Night of the Hunter." But how many of you have heard of Night of the Hunter? Almost every single hand went up, because, as I say, it is a movie that's studied in the colleges and university. And they just brought out this year a documentary about it, because it's being released on a DVD that's even better than Blu-ray. I don't know, it's better than Blu-ray, but this brand new kind of technology that really makes it sharp and you can hear it.
Right.
Because I'd say one more thing, because the cinematography really is so beautiful, and the music is quite haunting, but the cinematography is fabulous.
I will have to catch that. I will admit, sadly, I have not seen it. I'm not one of these that's going to come on and say, "Yeah, I saw it."
Yeah. Well, you can find it. I'm sure you can find it online for free, so and Google it, because it was over 50 years ago, but I was a small child then.
Well, you also, as a small child, you worked with the great Cecil B. DeMille. Do you remember auditioning for that role in the Ten Commandments?
Well, I actually never auditioned.
Really?
After the movie, I had an agent. My mother got me an agent. And then I think I did an episode of Armis Brooks. And then my agent sent me over to Paramount, just to be an extra. So I didn't audition for that, as a little kid. And I went to the makeup and got the robes and all of that. And I was doing my first scene, holding a little lamb. I was up on a big wagon, and this was during the Exodus. And so the slaves, I was a slave, we were leaving town again. And all of a sudden I heard this big voice call out, "Don't let that little girl's face get in the camera." And I said, "What? Is he talking to me?" And I looked up and I said, "Is he God?" There was Cecil B. DeMille up on this great big crane, and he was taking an overall view of the whole scene. So the associate director came up, and they kind of hid me behind a blanket, and I did the scene. And then afterwards, I saw God descending, the cinematic deity. He came down, and then the director got me off the wagon. And so we chatted and we talked, and I said, "Oh, okay, I guess that's what happens in movies." And the associate director came up to my mom, and he said, "Well, I think your daughter's going to be on this movie a lot longer." So he wrote scenes into the movie with me and Charlton Heston. And indeed, I was on that and the movie for about 6 weeks. And there was like a week that I wasn't in any of the scenes. They still paid me. My mother thought, "Well, that's very nice of them." But it was really a fabulous experience. So I didn't audition. I was just kind of picked.
Well, that's such an amazing movie, because I think it's probably one of the only ones that they still play every year on TV.
Yes, and they have colorized it, and they've brought it up to a different kind of quality that wasn't available,
Right.
back then. But you still see some of these special effects that are so daunting and great. And instead of green screen, they were using Jello to simulate like the water going back and forth. And so it was so clever and so well done. They tried to remake it, and that, of course, is a flop. But you couldn't remake it that at the time and everything. Yeah, it's played every Easter.
Even today, there's no way they could remake that. There's
No.
just, that was such an impactful movie. So did you know at such a young age, who like Cecil B. DeMille was, or who Charlton Heston was?
No clue.
I didn't think so. Your mom probably did, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure. All I know is I'm sitting on this paper mache mountain rock, and this great big figuring Rose comes up to me. Well, I didn't know who he was, but he was very impressive to me, just as an actor. I was already a child actor, so I was Oh, yes, and he asked me if I'm afraid, and I said, no, but Rebecca is, which is my doll. There's a couple scenes before to explain her, but no, I didn't know. I got to know him later, and he was really a wonderful, wonderful man.
Yeah, I think there's probably only two people that I would be deathly intimidated by, and that would be probably Charlton Heston and oh, I can't even think of his name. He was Dr. Zhivago. My brain slips me right now.
I
But
don't know exactly who you're talking about, but Charlton Heston was a very, intimidating, but really down to earth. I was dating some Michael Dante actually at the time, and he would play tennis up with Charlton Heston. He lived in Hollywood Hills up on Mulholland, and I'd sit and with his wife and with lemonade, and we'd watch them play tennis. But he was like not regular folk. I just don't think Charlton Heston knew how to be a regular folk, but I mean, he
right,
always had this, really wonderful presence.
he seems to be. I remember him in a lot of shows. I mean, I think one of the last ones he was in was the Colbys, wasn't it?
Oh, could be. Yes.
It was one of the last ones he was in.
Yes. He did Mountain Men with Brian
Yes.
Keith, who of course played my uncle in Family Affair, who was another who could be very intimidating himself. But
Right.
he loved kids, and he loved teenager. He loved his faux family. He loved his real family, even though he got a divorce the second year, a Family Affair. But he loved children very, very much.
Well, I'm not sure about him. I can honestly say I'm divorced, but I can say me and my ex-wife are friends. It took us a couple of years to get there, but we have a lifetime commitment. We got kids together. So, we don't have a choice.
Right.
So
Yeah.
she's still, we're still there for like when my mom passed away, she came over, that type of thing. We're
Right.
still friends. So
It's
I think
good.
maybe
I think, yeah, it's good to have a relationship like that. My brother is divorced, and he sees his wife more than he starts to date these women, and he says, oh well, I have to go to Christmas with my wife, his ex-wife. So he spends the holidays. I mean, they've been divorced for 20 years, and he's still there, and they're still friends, and they have two kids that are in their 40s now that that they share.
yes, well, you've got a son. You know that they'll admit that when they turn 18, it's all over. No.
My son never left the house, and he went away to college for about 6 months, but then he was back. And not only had he never left the nest, he invited a chick to come live with us.
Oh,
In
no.
the house 10 years ago, and she's still here. I call her my daughter-in-law because they're, but here they are. I like that. It's a nice family affair.
It is. Well, recently you starred in a movie called Yellowbird. Very good movie. I watched it yesterday. You played an aging mother who apparently has dementia in the show, and which is very poignant to me because I'm so paranoid of Alzheimer's. I just really am. I'm just that. Cancer scares me. The others scare me, but that one really scares me. And Yellowbird kind of, went to there a little bit in a light way. It wasn't a intense, deep, serious. What was it like playing that role?
Well, my mom had Alzheimer's, so I had firsthand experience with it, and it's really sad. And my character, I think, are in the first kinds of throes of dementia, and so there are times when I'm doing this now, and I thought, oh yeah, is this my early dementia in my real life? And I said, where did I put my keys? Where did I put my keys? And I have Alexa, the little box.
Yes.
Alexa, find my phone, because I always put my phone down. I can't find it.
Me too.
Oh, now see, she heard me. She's
She
downstairs.
did.
She heard it.
I gotta watch.
My phone. She makes it ring. Okay, thank you, Alexa. Off, Alexa. Thank you. From an unknown caller. That's Alexa. Okay, thank you. Alexa, hang up. She's still going.
Tell her Alexa stop.
Oh, she heard you.
Okay. I get that too all the time. That's how I know that Alexa stop makes her stop.
Yes. So those types of things. But my mom, she would forget things. And but then there were periods of lucidity. And I remember going out with her to a luncheon, and we're sitting and we're talking, and then all of a sudden she's, I don't know where I've been. It's I'm back. I was someplace else. And so I use that. And then when my character Rachel Rush, she gets it in her head, she's going to do something that she had always wanted to do. And I don't want to be a spoiler, but it was like my mother. And I used this actually in the movie. There was when my mother was an RN. And so this one day, she forged through all of her things. She was a hoarder, as am I. That's why we only see this part of my office. And she found her nurse's uniform and her pin and her hat, and she was all set to go out and go to the hospital. Or she would wander around. That's what happens, unfortunately, with Alzheimer's patients. If they get out, then they wander, then they get lost, then you can't find them. So there are a lot of sad things, but I think that there are inroads coming through the Alzheimer's Foundation and different things that are being found out every day, just like I'm sure as, necrotic fasciitis. I don't know if I said that correctly. But each day, inroads for cancer or that, or, Alzheimer's. So.
Well, when I was in high school, I took, we had like a tech school you could go to for half a day. Mm-hmm. And I went to that for nursing. So doing that, I ended up with a job at a place here for Alzheimer's.
Oh.
People affected with Alzheimer's. And it was very interesting. It was very hard to watch, to see. And to be a loved one like you, where I just can't even imagine.
So your mother did not have it?
No, luckily she did not. No, my mother passed away of COPD.
Oh, yeah. My really good friend, Paul Peterson, has that. Paul.
Yes. And then my father is still alive. He'll be 83 in July.
Well, you're just a kid, Tim.
I just turned 51. I'm still a kid.
Yeah, you are.
Well, you starred in many hit shows through the 60s, like The Rifleman, The Bing Crosby Show, Ben Casey, and The Patty Duke Show, which I watched as a kid, of course, in reruns, but I did watch all of those shows. But it was 1966 you landed the role of Cissy Patterson Davis in Family Affair, which was the first series in color.
Yes, and just in case people forgot that, we had a big kaleidoscope going with all the colors. Say, see all these beautiful colors? You're watching this in color now. We're like the first show, and we're in color. So.
And I do remember, watching Family Affair as a kid. Like I said, in reruns, I can't really tell you much about it, but I watched all of those shows. W. Gillis, Patty Duke. I loved all those shows as a kid growing up. Well, of course, we only had 3 channels too, but
yes.
But still, I loved all those old shows. Did you have to audition for that role?
Oh, yes. And as you said, I had a lot of experience guest starring on like The Rifleman, and I played Patty Duke's friend, Monica, in the Patty Duke Show. Just recently, there was a new channel that started called Classic Reruns TV, and they were doing a marathon, the Patty Duke Show. So I hosted that marathon for them. They have recently just changed their name to NOST, N-O-S-T, which is short for nostalgia. And that debuted on April the 3rd. And I'm going to host for them like a TCM thing where I'll introduce a classic movie, because it changed from just classic television to classic movies and TV. Right. As well as original programming, which is a rarity and something special about a network. So I did audition for that, for Family Affair. And as I say, I had a lot of experience beforehand. Now, the thing was, I was going to UCLA. And also at that time, I had dark hair and my dark eyes. And that's what allowed me to play a slave in the Ten Commandments.
Right.
And Indians in Fear of Cochise and Travels of Jamie McNeater. I played Indians before that was, you have to have an Indian to play an Indian, but that wasn't so true like in the 50s. Anyway, so I'm at the sorority. I get a call from my mom. She says, oh, you have an audition for a television series. They've already cast it. They've already sold it, but they need a teenage sister for their family. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, here's the thing. We have to go over to the producer's office this afternoon, and they want someone with blonde hair. I said, oh. And I said, but Mom, my hair's brown and dark. And she says, I know. She says, I have an idea. I said, what? She says, there's this stuff called streaks and tips, and you spray it on your hair, and then it turns your hair a different color, like instantly. I said, okay, bring it. So she comes over to the sorority, she sprays my hair. I ask a sorority sister, I was a Pi Phi, she says, do you have any blonde makeup? She gives me the blonde makeup. I put on actually the same color of a sweater though, and a skirt. We go over there. I'm having a conversation with the producer and we're chatting. I thought we're having a nice time. And then he says, what's the matter with your hair?
Oh, no.
My hair? And he says, yeah, it's turning green. I said, oh, well, must be that light coming in. So we laughed about it. And my hair was like a helmet to begin with. It was just like Goldfinger with this. So my agent says, okay, they really like you. He says, want you to do a screen test, go to Max Factor, which is now the Hollywood Museum, and get a blonde wig, and then go to Western costumers, get, like a young looking dress. Okay. So I turn up in this long blonde wig with this blue and white check dress, looking like something out of Alice in Wonderland. And I do the screen test, and then I'm looking around the set. They were already shooting the pilot. The next day, my agent calls, says, well, you got the part. And I says, you're kidding. She says, nope, you're going to play the teenage daughter. No, not the daughter, but the teenage sibling, Cissy. And I said, well, that's great. She said, there is a caveat. I said, what? She said, they want you never to wear that wig or never wear that dress again. I said, and that was the audition for Family Affair.
Oh, wow. And before I forget, I want to let everybody know that you can find Yellowbird on Tubi, I believe, and it's on Amazon. And while I'm talking about it, you can also still catch Family Affair on Pluto, Peacock, Amazon, YouTube, Tubi, many others.
Yes.
I sometimes forget to plug that. I apologize for that.
Well, thank you for plugging that, Tim. And it has Yellowbird on Amazon.Prime. We had a theatrical release up in Orinda, California, and I went to the Orinda Theater and did a meet and greet, and we showed the film, and that was really nice. And but yeah, Amazon Prime, it has won 4 Best Picture awards from 4 different film festivals. So I urge people to see it and tune in and then write a review. Not if you don't like it, but if you like it, you're going to give it 5 stars.
Absolutely. And you can find it on Vudu because that's where I watched it yesterday.
Yes. And MoMeToo, which is another network or platform that you can watch it on.
Yes. Now we'll get back to Family Affair. Do you remember your first day on the set?
Probably not. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I remember my first day, and they were almost finished shooting with the pilot, and then the Johnny came in. The little Johnny Whitaker played Jody, and then I was to come in. And I remember I had this blue coat on, and being such a method actress as I am, I'm standing behind the door thinking, oh, now what it would be like if here I was, this orphan, my parents had died. I don't know where I'm going and what is this big city, because I was from Indiana, and not knowing what I was going to come into. And then the door opens, and then I see my little brother and sister. And then that was, really a true moment, because I had imagined that and put myself in that kind of setting, and then had run in.
Well, and this and Johnny both they were perfect for those roles at that age. I mean, I'm just astounded that, what it would be like to work with Brian Keith and Sebastian Cabot.
Well, Brian was such a wonderful actor, and he was nominated. He would have been one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, but he hated publicity. He didn't like to do interviews. He didn't like his picture taken. He valued his privacy, and he was a tough guy. I mean, even though his parents were in vaudeville and he was raised in the entertainment business, he was a Marine and he was a boxing champion. So he had this wonderful duality of being this real macho guy with just a sensitive heart and sensitivity. So it was a fabulous combination, and he was a wonderful actor. He was very much of a method, actor, and moment to moment. And so he would just feel it and do it, and maybe not say all the lines exactly right, but say them the way he would say them.
Right.
Ashton, on the other hand, was this the fellow from England who had really not taken any kind of drama lessons, but he was a limousine driver, and he drove a limousine that had an English actor star in it. So he learned a lot, and he left school at 16. But he wanted to follow his passion, but he had trouble learning his lines. So he would study them, and he'd go over and over with the dialogue coach to make sure he said everything exactly precisely right. So you have this wonderful contrast of actors, and Brian saying, yeah, and he'll say, what are we doing today? He says, oh, is this it? And this is script. Okay, well, all right, go on, do it. And then Sebastian comes in, with the way his character and the way that he actually pronounced things so beautifully. And so you had a great contrast. But both of them loved kids and had really a wonderful kind of love for things and a sensitivity.
That sounds great. You also returned to the role of Cissy in 2020 in Aunt Cissy. What was that like?
Oh, that's great. And it's like the same thing, only instead of Uncle Bill, there's Aunt Cissy. And I'm an actress in Hollywood and just about to retire, and finally, get some relaxation and go to Bermuda and the islands. And I get the knock on the door, and they two teenagers are standing there. It says, Aunt Cissy? Yes, Aunt Cissy. I said, Aunt Cissy? And I do a fall. That's the beginning. And it goes on from there.
That is awesome. That is so cool. I wish it had gone on more, but unfortunately. I'm just going to touch on this because I know we're short on time. You did a lot of voiceover. I just want to say thank you from all my heart, because you play voiceover one of my most favorite characters, Firestar, on Spider-Man. That was one of my most favorite characters as a kid growing up. But I want to get into your books before we run out of time, because you've authored 5 books and co-authored many more. I've got 4 of them: the Family Affair Cookbook, Ex-Child Stars, Where They Are Now, Family Affair Scrapbook, and Surviving Cissy, A Family Affair, Life in Hollywood, which they can all be found on Amazon and bookstores, most all bookstores. I don't read a lot, so I did the audio book. I listened to Cissy today. Fabulous book. I mean, one of my favorite ones was stories in the book was when you were talking about the first time you smoked a cigarette. I'm gonna show the pictures, but if you don't mind sharing that with everybody.
Oh, when I was in high school?
Yes, it just got me laughing when you were talking about smoking for the first time.
Yes. Well, yes, we were such rebels in high school. And as a matter of fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going to my high school reunion. And I'm not going to say what year it is, but we thought that we were really, cool. So we were sitting on my friend Ellen's curb. And so I said, okay, I'll have a cigarette. And so I had a cigarette, and I probably passed out.
Oh no.
I took one puff and then I was gone. But actually later on, it reminds me, I tried it in college and so I started smoking. We would play bridge until way in the morning. And I met my future husband and at a tennis tournament. And our first date, we went to this beautiful restaurant on Sunset Boulevard. And I pull out my cigarette and he takes it and he breaks it in two. Said, excuse me. He'd never smoked. He's never done any kind of drugs or anything. We drink wine. We lived in Northern California for a while. How can you not drink wine when you live next to Napa? And but he took it and broke it. He kind of stands up for things. But I like that about him. We've been married for 42 years. So I guess I'll keep him.
Congrats on that. I just say I'm glad that you didn't pick it up. I am on day 52 of quitting smoking myself. So it's
well, good
hard.
for you. It's good for you. See, you need someone to take your cigarette and break it. I stopped smoking after that. You know?
That's what I say. I'm glad you didn't pick it up because this has been one of the hardest things ever to do.
Yeah.
At this point where I'm at now, it's not that hard now. It's just certain times, you know, then I just got
it becomes a habit. I think you associate things with certain times. It's just like brushing your teeth, which is good for you, but you know, it's a habit. And smoking, you associate with, you know, maybe a beer or, you know, having a drink or just smoking when you're tense, you know, but if you can get out of that particular environment, then that I think helps you break a particular habit.
Well, that's what I say. I'm glad
that you get from Kathy.
Right. I'm glad you didn't start because I'd hate to see you have to stop. I'd hate to see anybody have to go through that.
Yes. Well, I think you're doing a very good job. Day 52. Good for you.
Thank you. Now, another book you did a cookbook. Do you enjoy cooking? Because I know some of those recipes are your own personal recipes.
I love to cook. I did the Family Affair Cookbook, then holiday recipes for a family affair. This year will be coming out TV Dinners TV cookbook. So I do. And my son is a fabulous, fabulous cook. And so my daughter-in-law is vegetarian. So they have kind of gone the vegetarian route, but he's a pescatarian. So he'll have fish and all of that. But my husband and I are omnivores and we'll eat anything. You know, it doesn't matter. So, but I love to cook all kinds of things, everything.
I respect everybody's choices, but I am in Kentucky. I come from a beef and chicken farm. So yeah, I like my beef.
Oh, we do too. Where's the beef? No.
Most people don't get that one, Kathy. I don't think a lot of people know what we're talking about there.
Right. Well, we had Chinese food, I think, last night, and then we're going to have Italian food with meatballs. I said, we have really an international cooking house here. We cook all countries' foods.
I love to cook too, but I am not a healthy cook. I'm a country cook. I live in Kentucky. I mean, you know, fried chicken.
The barbecue. I've been to Owensboro and
barbecue.
Loved the barbecue in Owensboro.
Mutton is some of the best food. People just don't even know what they're missing. They need to come to Owensboro and try some mutton. They really do.
I just looked up a recipe for smoked pork hock, which I haven't had, but it's 3 hours and then you cook it and then with some beans or sauerkraut. Right. Part of my heritage is Austrian, so it's a real German kind of cooking with the ham hock or the pork hock. This particular one is a pork hock with beans or sauerkraut.
Oh, I love me some put some beans in a crock pot with a ham hock all day. Yeah, supper right there. Some fried potatoes.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
See, I'm country. I'm not a healthy cook.
Well, you got it. You know, you can eat healthy one day and then you can have a little pork hock the next day and you can have a salad the next day. I mean, I think it's a good combination. I think anything that's all of that way is maybe not good for you, but
No.
add it, you know.
Oh no, I incorporate
Enough of it.
like I have either a salad, some sort of salad or greens every night. I always make sure I have two vegetables. Whether it doesn't matter what it is, I always make sure I have two healthy vegetables, not fried.
Yeah.
I don't
I
consider
think
that.
that's good. You look great. You look
Thank you.
okay, you know.
Thank you. Kathy, I've got so much I wanted to cover, but I will run out of time. I would love to have you come back sometime if you would, because you are such a delight.
Sure, I'd like to do that. And you can follow everything I'm doing. I have all my appearance kind of schedule set up. Maybe we're going to have to add Owensboro so I can do a Christmas memory there at River Park,
Absolutely.
in December. But people can find it all on my my website, which is kathygarver.com. And I have a newsletter, and it's published every month, so people can find out what I'm doing. And if I'm in your town, I'd love to see you all and meet you, and I'll meet you again. I know, Tim.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, all of her links are in the description of this video right here. The link to her social medias, the link to her page where you can find out everything. And you can find Kathy's book on Amazon and most bookstores, but you can also order the book off of her website with an autograph. The shipping times vary on that, but she's got some awesome items other than just books. She's got awesome items on that website that she's got up for everybody. I want to thank you, Kathy, for being here. If you would wait back in the waiting room for just a moment, I'll be right back there.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Kathy Garver for being here today. I'd like to thank the Necrotizing Fasciitis for sponsoring our show. Please visit www.necfash.org for more information on necrotizing fasciitis. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like this episode, please hit the like button. Till next time, please be kind to one another and have a great day.